Hello, everybody. It's Brandy Woods. We're about to get started live on our Hangout tonight, learning how to kick fear in the face. We're going to give everyone a few moments to come on and to make sure that everyone who wants to get on this event can get on tonight. I got a lot of juicy information to share with you, and I'm so excited that you took time out of your busy schedule to be with me on tonight. So I'm going to give everyone a few moments to get on. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments box. If you don't know how to get to the comments box, you can just click on the side and click that word chat. And if you have a question, I'll be able to see it there. We'll be starting in a few moments. Can't wait for this wonderful evening. Okay, everyone, we're about to get started. I see a lot of you getting on, and some of you are on YouTube. You can join this Hangout two ways via YouTube or on Google Hangout. And I really give kudos to Google for making sure that they have tools like this to help small business owners or people just to connect in general. So we're going to be talking about how to kick fear in the face on tonight. And I'm super excited. And guess what? I'm super qualified for this topic because I've lived in fear at points in my life. But guess what? I got over it real quick. And so I'm so excited to be able to share with you my journey, my story, and to even answer some of your questions. So if you've never used Google Hangout before, and hopefully my mom is on here and she's not a Google girl, I want to tell you how you can chat with me on tonight. If you look on the left side of your screen, there should be a blue bubble that says chat. And in that chat box, you can type questions, you can leave me messages, you can tell me how well I'm doing tonight. And that's the way that we can communicate. If you're on YouTube tonight, thank you so much. If you leave any comments, I promise that I'm going to respond to them. So we're going to get started. If you know me, you know that I'm a timely person and I believe in starting on time. And so if you miss anything on this Hangout tonight, please rest assured that I'm going to share it with the world. We are going to have this broadcast cataloged on YouTube, and we're going to send it out to our special friends. I do have a new mailing list, the Brandy Woods, and if you would like to join that mailing list, already in the chat box, there's a link there that you can click on at the end of tonight, and you'll be able to join our mailing list. So, can someone give me a chat message and let me know that you can hear me and see me, and let me know who's on the call tonight? Hey, hello, Teresa. How are you? Hello, Stephanie. I'm so glad that you guys could be on tonight. Perfect, perfect, perfect. It looks like everyone can hear and see me. And if you can, we're going to go ahead and get started tonight. You can go ahead and put some messages in the chat box if you have any questions that you want me to address. So I'm going to get started. So, how to kick fear in the face. First of all, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule. But I also want to tell you how I came up with this topic. So, over the last few years, I've had some moments of extreme success, but I've had some very low moments as well. And sometimes, if you look at a person and you meet them at one point in their story, you think, oh, she really has it together, or he really has it together, when in fact we all experience challenges. And I think it would be unfair of me not to share those challenges and how I overcame them with people that I love and respect. So I got on this idea that I need to tell my story more, because I think it's a phenomenal story. It's definitely a story of triumph. It's a story of victory. It's a story of healing. And those are the good parts. But there are some parts of my story that deal with loss, disappointment, depression, fear, that we're going to talk about tonight, and even a scarcity complex. So I really wanted to share that with people who love me and people who I think could receive this message and grow from it. So, fear. Who has experienced fear? I have. It's a very paralyzing, debilitating, it just suffocates you, right? And you have to find a way to push past it, especially if you want to be a success story. So I learned really early, in order to overcome fear, that I had to face it. I had to say, this is what I'm dealing with, and how can I overcome it? So the easiest way for you to overcome your fear is to first identify it. What are you scared of? Are you scared of being alone? Or are you scared that you won't succeed if you try a new business venture? Are you scared that your kids are not going to love you if you make a certain decision? Are you scared that you can't make everyone happy? These are all real, true fears that people experience. And if you don't be careful, these fears can absolutely, totally paralyze you from living the life that you want. I can remember a time when I was fearless. I did what I wanted to do. I went where I wanted to go. And I remember a series of things happening in my life where that stopped, where I became more cautious. I became more reserved. And all of that caution and the ability to be more reserved came from some very severe moments in my life. I can go back and remember graduating from school and having so much fun, and I'm talking high school, and getting ready to go off to college. And I remember one day I came home and everyone in my house had a weird look on their face. I really didn't know what was going on, but I knew in my heart that something was offset. Now, this was before the time of smartphones and iPhones, and so no one could call and tell me. Well, I did have a beeper, but that doesn't count. No one could call and tell me like what happened. But I walked into the house and I began to look at my mom and my sister, and I knew something had happened. That day I found out that my father had passed away. Wow, what a tragic moment in my life. One of the reasons it was so tragic is because here I am getting ready to go off to school, to be adventurous, to learn new things, and literally I felt like a rug was pulled from under me. I didn't know in that moment what I was going to do. I had moments where I thought, I'm not going to school. I can't leave my mom. I can't put that burden on her. Then I had moments thinking, why, Lord? Why would this happen now? And I felt myself get into a bubble of Brandy. I introverted for a moment because I was very fearful of how my life would turn out without such an integral part of my life. I believe that was the first moment that real fear ever gripped me. The kind of fear that you really can't move, can't talk, can't explain. It was the very first time that I realized that life is not going to always work out exactly the way you want it to work out. So at this point in my life, I had to make some huge decisions. Was I going to stay home and waste all my talent, all that my parents had poured into me? Or was I going to go off and become the woman that God had designed for me to be? So after a lot of pushing and priming and prodding, I went off to school. But the week before school looked something like this. I buried my father on a Thursday. I got my hair braided and got packed up on a Friday. And with tears in my eyes and a lot of confusion in my heart, I started a 4-year journey that I really don't regret. And I often think about, what if I would have just stayed home and went to community college? Would my life be the same? Absolutely not. I'm so grateful that my parents and my family and my friends, my ministers in my life, they pushed me past the pain and the fear I was experiencing to do more, to do better. So, what fears do you need to face? Can you think about what you're afraid of? Just take a moment. Are you afraid of something? You afraid to leave your job? Are you afraid to leave an abusive relationship? Are you afraid to branch out on your own? Are you afraid to have another child? What are you afraid of? Your fears are the one thing that you have to identify, because your fears will either stifle you from growth or they will allow you to grow. And I'm going to tell you how you're going to use those fears in just a second to fuel you instead of destroy you. So, have you identified those fears? Can you tell me where they started from? Take time and really write them down. I'm afraid of this. Where did that start from? I'm afraid of having no money. That all comes from some point in your life. So you have to identify those fears. That's the first thing you need to do to kick fear in the face. The second thing you have to do is deflate the fear. Take the power out of it. Fear has no power. Listen to me. It's like the bully in the schoolyard that talks a good game, that tells you they're going to beat you up, but as soon as you confront them, they say something like this: "Oh, I was just playing. No problem, no problem, my bad." That's just what your fears are. They're big bullies that keep you from the life that you want. So, think about it. How many times have we not did what we wanted to do just because we were scared? Okay? But what time did you push past it? You know, did you fail? Did you die? No. What's the worst that can happen? Even if you have something that some people call failure, which I'm not sure I believe in wholly, I believe that everything is a lesson. And I don't mind learning lessons. I don't want to learn the same lesson over and over. But the worst thing that can happen is that I'm going to learn a lesson. I'm going to learn a different way to handle a situation. So when I am faced with a fear, I ask myself some questions. First of all, why am I afraid? I can take this back to my very first big promotion. I remember saying, I'm not going to apply. I'm too young. There's no one in administration my age. And I was like, well, why am I afraid? The worst thing that can happen is they say no, and I'll continue to do what I love to do. The best thing that can happen is they say yes, and I learn new skills and I make more money. I deflated the fear. No one was going to know that I didn't get the job when I did get the job, but not the first time. So let me tell you a little bit how it happened. I interviewed for the job and they loved me, right? But they had some reservations about my age at the time. I probably was 30 at the time. And it was really dominated by older people. in the field that maybe had a little bit more experience than me. But I had the skills, I had the voice, I had the knowledge, and I knew that I was a good fit for the position. Well, they offered the position to someone else, and later they came back and said, well, we still want to work with you. Well, the lady ended up moving. Well, some people would have said, well, Brandy, you really didn't earn that promotion. But I did, because God saw fit to give it to me. Every fear that I told myself that I wasn't going to make it, that I hadn't taught enough grades to be in this position, all of those fears were deflated. And year after year, the schools that I work with, they showed growth. But I could have stuck in the mode of, I'm going to stay right here. I'm not going to try to do anything more. And I could have stayed there. But I decided that I was going to push past my comfort zone and try something new. See, your comfort zone is a place where you don't have to deal with your fears. It's when you do more that your fears will try to slap you in the face and say, hey, that's not for you. It's not your time yet. But I tell my fears, no way. I'm going to try whatever I choose to try. And if by chance it's not successful, the worst that can happen is that I'm going to learn a big lesson. You have to deflate the negative results. Go ahead and face them. What's the worst that can happen? Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? And to me, if the worst is not death, then I'm willing to try it. My risk measure is larger than it's ever been. And as you achieve more things that you try, you'll be willing to take more risks. I didn't get there overnight. So by no means do I want you to think that. But the more small success that you have, the more that you're willing to try those bigger things that push you past your comfort zone. The positive result is always going to be greater than the possible negative. So you have to go ahead, confront your fears. Let them know that they do not control you. Go ahead and say, I know that you exist, but I'm bigger than you. My dreams, my goals, my aspirations, they're bigger than you, fear. Go ahead and confront the fear, and that will give you the power to move forward. Now, your first step, you may have to crawl. They may be itsy bitsy, teeny weeny baby steps, but over time, your risk factor will grow, and you'll be able to take leaps. You'll be able to run. You'll be able to do way more than you think you can do. There's a scripture in the Bible about being able to do, God giving you the ability to do. He gives you the ability to get wealth, that He can do exceedingly and abundantly beyond your wildest dreams. He can do more than you ask or think. And you have to realize, if you are the child of that King, then you have the same attributes. There is no limit to your success. In fact, the only limit you have are the limits that you put on yourself. I refuse to be limited. I won't live in that space anymore. I talk to myself so many times about, why do you feel this way, Brandy? Why, after all the success, after all the trials, do you still get afraid? And I allow myself the moment to say, you're human. And I give myself the ability to live in that space for a moment. But I don't rest there. I begin to think about what tools, what resources do I need to move past my fear and into my future. Because I cannot live in my future if my fear is holding me down. The third step to kicking fear in the face is one of my favorites, and that's boost yourself. See, once you face the fear and you deflate the fear, then what? You have to begin telling yourself who you are. You know, a lot of times we're quick to tell people, you don't know me. Well, do you know yourself? I mean, have you given yourself the power to say, you don't know me? I'm cold. I'm bad. I have the ability to do whatever I need to do. The resources that I need to make my dreams come true, they are attracted to me. That money and wealth, they are attracted to me. That I have the ability, the personality, the relationships to draw everything I need to me. Sometimes you just have to tell yourself who you are. You have to let the enemy know that I have everything I need and I will succeed. And a lot of times we think the enemy is outside of us, but a lot of times the enemy that we have is within us. My sister always says, shout out to Natalie, you better be on this webinar. My sister always says that often that our inner me is the inner me, what's inside of us. It's the negative self-talk that does not allow us to be the person that we want to be. You have to kill that person, that inner person that tells you you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, that if you fail, that you're not going to have everything you need. You have to kill the voices inside of your head. Now, I'm not talking about schizophrenia. And I'm not talking about mental illness, but we all have negative self-talk. For example, today, I told myself, oh, you're not prepared. You're not going to know what to say. Oh, no one's going to get on the webinar. I had to grip myself and say, look, girl, you have RSVPs. If no one shows up, you showed up. You did what you were supposed to do. And one day, this message is going to get in the right hands. I had to release myself. I had to tell myself, you have overcame some things that other people would have crumbled, went into a corner, and never came out. Those are the kind of things that you've overcome. I mean, I've had tremendous loss, even though I've had victories. I've lost jobs. Yes, I was fired. You're fired. Donald Trump got me. I have experienced raising a very difficult child. I have been at a point where I didn't know how things were going to pan out. I mean, I've been at a point where I had to rebuild my life from having $12. I mean, literally, no idea of where more money was coming in. You know, I've had to overcome some things, but I'm here. I'm here. And what if I would have given up? So I play a game with myself all the time. I always, act like I finally made it to Oprah's Sunday, Super Sunday, or that I made it big. I introduce myself. This is Brandy Woods, the multi-billionaire, empire growing. I have to boost myself up, right? She speaks all over the world. Now, that's not my story today, but it will be shortly. So I continue to tell myself, you do have the support system to do what you need to do. Also, that God has put everything in me to achieve whatever I want to achieve. So I'm not waiting for a magic wand. I'm not waiting for the power pill. I understand that everything I want is going to come by the work of my hands and the movement of my feet. It's going to come by me renewing my mind and telling myself, you have the ability to create the life you want. Do you have that ability? Answer me. Yes, you have that ability. You have the ability to create the life that you want. Will it be work? Yes, it will be work. But you can do it. You have to realize that that's what this game is all about. You work and you work and you work until you achieve the goals you want. Sometimes you may have to refocus your energy, but that doesn't mean we stop. We don't get to give up. Failure is not an option. We don't have the option to quit. Your family is depending on you. Your children are depending on you. Your job is depending on you. Your customers to your new business, people are depending on you. So you can't give up. You can't quit even when it's difficult. So after you boost yourself and you tell yourself how you're a bad mama jamma and how you have everything you can possibly need, now it's time to free yourself. Yes, free yourself. See, we have these imaginary chains, these imaginary chains that hold us back. They paralyze us. They keep us in our chair. They keep us from traveling the world. They keep us from starting a new business. They're these imaginary restraints when really they're a figment of our imagination. They're not real. You're not in prison. You can move freely in this world and do exactly what you want. There is no one that can limit you but you. So a lot of people use the saying that fear is false evidence appearing real. Right? That all the things that you're afraid of, they're really not there. They're really a figment of your imagination. Now, I'm not saying don't have a playing, or I'm not saying don't realize the things that are out there that you need to overcome, but you don't have to be afraid to overcome them, even if it takes time. I'm going to tell you a story, and this story, I'm going to try not to drop any tears because it was a joyous story in the end, but it was a very scary story. But it taught me a valuable lesson that life is really, it's not promised. So, right before my 30th birthday, I was doing some routine checkups, right? And I had decided that I wanted to lose weight and I had to do a few things. My doctor had sent me on all kind of tests, and I got a call one day, right? I'm thinking I'm healthy, even though I knew I hadn't took as good of care of myself as I could. I had never had any major health issues. So I got a call, and it was a very disturbing call because the doctor explained to me that he found a mass. And you think mass, you automatically think what? Cancer. And he explained to me how I had to go in and I needed to get some biopsies performed. And they wanted to kind of see what the mass was. Well, I began some mass praying, but it was a very scary moment. So I did what I needed to do. I took the test, and sure enough, they found a mass that was cancerous. In that moment, the only thing I could think of was I have two children that I need to raise, not my mom, not their dad, not my sister, that I wanted to raise. And I also realized that I had some things in my life that I wanted to accomplish, that I hadn't had the chance to accomplish. That was a moment of extreme fear. So we went through the process of going through all of the appointments, and we finally scheduled a surgery. And they said, this is not something you're going to have chemo on or radiation. We're going to be able to do a surgery, and we're going to remove the mass. To me, that was exciting news. But my pastor said, I think that God is going to do you one better. And my church began to pray. And even though in my heart I knew God could heal me, I was still fearful. I was afraid. I was scared. So I get to the doctor and I get to the hospital and I did all the work and it's time for me to go into surgery. I can remember my mom sitting there and, my family looking at me. I have a very supportive family. And I remember going into surgery. And I go under, I had a cute anesthesiologist, and all of a sudden I'm out. Well, I'm out, so I don't know what happened in the process. But let me tell you, it was a miracle. So suddenly people are waking me up and nurses and doctors are moving around and I'm like, whoa, what has happened? So they're like, Miss Woods, you need to stand up. And I'm like, okay, I just had surgery. Something is wrong. So I'm literally fighting the nurses. Stop, stop, stop. I can't get up. I just had surgery. I thought they had went crazy, right? And so finally my mom, she's looking at me with this look in her eye. And I'm like, what's going on? And she said, Brandy, they couldn't find the tumor. Wow. Just like that. Just like that, I had been given my life back. Just that quick. I went from being a cancer patient to being a cancer survivor in less than 30 minutes. You see, fear could have had me writing wills and, seeing who was going to take care of my children and forgetting all of my dreams. But faith wouldn't allow me to do that. We walked through the process, and our result was much greater than we thought it could be. You see, sometimes we get afraid and we get paralyzed. We don't want to move anymore. We don't know our next step, so we refuse to do anything at all. I challenge you today to not be paralyzed by fear. Even if you have to take baby steps, even if you have to crawl out of your bed, even if you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, we're going to do this anyway. We're going to do this afraid. We're going to do this with the help of our family, the help of the Lord. You're going to have to do it. We're not going to succumb to fear. See, it doesn't matter that you don't have all the tools. It doesn't matter that you don't have all the answers. But listen, you cannot give up. I need you to repeat it with me. I cannot give up. People are depending on me. I'm depending on me. I cannot give up on myself. If I give up on myself, I can't expect other people to believe in me either. See, you have to push past the fear. You have to push past the past hurt, the disappointment, okay, the setbacks, even the toxic relationships. You have to push past all of that and say, I'm going to do it anyway. You have to decide that what you want out of life is bigger than your fears. And once you decide what you want out of life is bigger than your fears, you treat your actions differently. You make yourself get up in the morning. You make yourself write the business plan. You make yourself go to church. You make yourself hire the coach. You make yourself start the website because you're pushing past the pain. You're pushing past the what ifs. You're pushing past the fear and saying, I'm going to do it anyway. And the worst thing that can happen is that I'm going to either learn a great lesson or I'm going to have a great victory. And most of the time, you're going to find that you're going to have a great victory. That people are going to respect your struggle. People are going to respect that you did not give up on yourself. So now we went over how you have to face the fear. You have to deflate the fear. You have to boost yourself. Let yourself know that who you are. Then you have to free yourself. Free yourself that you have to have everything planned out from A to Z. You have to free yourself that you may not know the end of the story. You have to free yourself from all the people who have hurt you. You have to free yourself that you don't know how everything is going to turn out. And you have to just start the work. But the last thing you have to do is the most powerful thing. Are you ready? I'm really excited to share this one with you. You have to use your fear as fuel. Yeah, like fuel you put in your car, it makes it run. Okay? We're going to use our fear as fuel. We're going to use all the things that tormented us, all the things that gave us sleepless nights, all the things that made us feel inadequate, incompetent, not beautiful. We're going to use those very things as stepping stones to get the life that we deserve. How do I do it, Brandy? I hear you asking me, how do I do it? How do I do it? How do I do it? And please post any questions that you want in the chat box. How do I turn my fear into fuel? Well, first of all, you have to realize that fear is a natural mechanism. You know, God gave it to us as a basic instinct, right? So you hear a noise, you duck, right? You're not going to stay there. You do that so you have the ability to protect yourself. So you can use fear as a protection, but you have to make sure you use it to benefit you and not to restrict you. There were some times that my fear meter raised up really high, and it told me to be watchful and to be careful, not to stop moving. So you have to learn how to use those basic instincts to overcome. I'm feeling really excited right now because I'm thinking about all the times that I overcame. You see, I come from the theory that talk is cheap. You need to put up or shut up. And then for my Christians, that faith without work is dead, right? And so you can't talk about what you want and never do anything. You can't keep planning and planning and planning and planning and never do anything. At some point, you have to get in motion. You have to activate all of those skills and tools that God gave you to get the life you deserve. How do I do it? Okay. So, first of all, you remove distractions from your life. Everybody does not need to know your every move. I'm going to let that rest. If people are not in your support corner, there are some times where you have to remove them so you can do what you need to do. The next way that you take that fear and you put it into fuel is that you begin to think of a master plan. I'm not a rapper, but I can think of the song. I'm thinking of a master plan, right? You have to think of your master plan. If you want to leave that job, what is your exit strategy? What are you going to do now to get the capital you need to start that business? So most of you know that I own Imagine Me Academy. Shouts out to all my parents, students, and workers here at Imagine Me Academy. But we didn't start in this big building. We started in a tiny building that was 1,200 square feet, and now we're in a building that's 8,000 square feet. But we did not start there. But we were not afraid to start, right? So you have to begin to think of your master plan. If you're afraid to do what you want to do because you don't think you're going to have money, you have to think of new and creative ways to earn money, right? If you know that you want to lose weight and you know that you want to get healthy, you have to think of what's going to be my support system. Who am I going to have to leave alone in this season that love to feed me and that are social eaters? You have to begin to think about how you're going to take control of it over your life. You have to also face the fact that if you don't move, that time is not going to stop. Time does not stop for you. Time does not wait for you to get ready. Other people will continue to move while you stay paralyzed. And you'll look back one day and you'll think, everybody left me. Well, they left you because you stopped moving. No, they didn't leave you. You stopped. So you have to begin to use that fear as fuel. You have to tell yourself, you know what? I'm going to move. I'm going to get into action. I'm going to today write down the things that I'm afraid of. I'm going to figure out a way to overcome them. And I'm going to decide today what I am going to do to make a step in the right direction. You have to start now. You can't wait. You can't even wait till tomorrow. You have to start now. You have to tell yourself, look, I'm going to trust myself again. I'm going to forgive myself for living in fear. I'm going to believe in myself again. I'm going to start again. So you have a book that you want to write? Write it. Start. You have a business you want to open? Find out what you need to do to open it. I'll help you. You have a relationship you need to mend? Go to that person. You have to decide what you want. No one can decide it for you. And as long as you live a life full of fear, you never can live the life that you desire. It just won't happen that way. You have to know also that the lack of action, that idleness, allows fear to creep in slowly. They say the idle mind is the devil's workshop. As long as you're idle and you're not doing anything, you give your mind space to create these horrible scenarios, worse than any horror movie alive. And you begin to tell yourself, it's never going to be me. I'm never going to get this. I can't do that. This is just the way that God has it. This is just the way that it is. As long as you tell yourself that, you're not going to live the life you deserve. You have to continue to boost yourself and say, I'm going to work on my dream every day. I'm going to live a life that's full of joy and happiness. I'm going to exceed my wildest expectations. And then you have to start putting timelines on it. In 30 days, I'm going to write a chapter of that book. In 60 days, I'm going to save $1,000 so I can get a website and I can start my business. Or I'm going to start sewing because I love to sew, and I'm going to have me a store on Etsy. Whatever it is that you want, you have to decide it, and then you have to put action to it. So really quick, I want to recap. But I just want to encourage you, don't let the fear of what could happen stop you from doing anything and then nothing happens. Right? You have to do something. To get the life you deserve, you have to do something. So I want to wrap up and let you know that I'm very excited that you joined me on tonight. And just to recap, we got 5 ways to kick fear in the face. First of all, we're going to face the fear. We're going to deflate the fear. We're going to take its power away. We're going to boost ourselves and remind ourselves that we have a lot going on and we're pretty cool and we can do this. Then we're going to free ourselves, knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to have to give ourselves space to be creative and start working towards our goal. And last but not least, we're going to turn that fear into fuel and we're going to get moving because most of the time it's not the fear that people have of dying. It's the fear that they're not going to accomplish all that they wanted to accomplish, that they're not going to see all the things that they want to see. I want to live a full life. Hopefully, I'll live, a full, beautiful life. But if by chance I don't, I want people to be able to say, she lived every day like it was her last day. That she took every opportunity. That she took every moment in her life and she took it and made something positive out of it. And she didn't leave us behind. That she continued to encourage us to pick up our faith off the ground, to put on our shoes, heels of my preference, and to get walking towards our purpose. I'm very happy that you decided to join us tonight. I'm not sure if there are any questions or if I've answered the questions that you have, but hopefully you enjoyed your time with me. I'm so happy to see my friends and family and my business associates on the call tonight. And I want to invite you to make sure that you join my mailing list. My email is at the bottom of the screen, thebrandywoods@gmail.com. And I can tell you, this year I'm going to be launching some awesome things. And I just want you to be there to help me celebrate and to support me. And I also want to support you. So make sure you go on Facebook tonight and send me a message. Let me know what you learned, how much you enjoyed it. And I'll be with you in another 2 weeks, bringing you another live webinar. Thank you so much. I cannot end this night without thanking a few special people. Teresa, you are my new best friend. She has really helped me in the last few weeks to get some things in order, and I love you for that. Mom, thank you for being on. I know that you're on supporting me tonight. I want to thank my sister. I want to thank my bae. I know that all of the people that I love are right there listening tonight. And most of all, I want to leave you with these words. If you don't create the life that you want, who will? Your life is in your hands. God made you a creator. He gave you dominion. Choose to use it wisely. Kick fear in the face. Get the life you deserve. But don't forget to come back and tell me about it. I'm so happy that we did this webinar tonight. I look forward to seeing you again. And if you're listening to the replay, hey, send me an email. I would love to hear from you. Good night and God bless.